Alrighty, so we got General Alexander versus General Fai, but this is going to be a no offensive units challenge. So difference between that and can't build any units is we're going to allow dozers and Chinooks, but all the other rules still apply. We're not building anything from the barracks, war factory or airfield, and rangers that come from destroyed US buildings are allowed, and ranger drops are allowed too, because we're not actually building those. Alrighty, so for this one, I decided to basically go right up to this bridge here and start building up my defense. I'm going to need a mix of Patriots and fire bases for this one. So difference between Alexander, Towns and Granger is simply the base defenses. I could do can't build any units as General Towns just because of those laser turrets being so good. But playing as Granger or Alexander, I do need to just work with Patriots and fire bases together, and then if we can get to Rangers from the Ranger drop or destroying our own buildings, then we can mix in some Rangers for the added defense and maybe flashbang those infantry too. So with our other dozer, we're going to go for that supply center. Now with the supply center, it's sort of a little bit tricky here because of the minigunners, so it's like you got to pull the Chinooks away in case those minigunners get too close and within range. Now, first minigunner drop, it's only going to be like 4 or 5 minigunners, and some of these minigunners, like, they'll shoot for a little bit, but eventually they will stop. But I am going to get my dozer to try and run over a bunch of them. Now, one minigunner has decided to stop shooting and have a run, so now we can just use our base defenses to get him as well. Now going for the barracks next. So with the barracks, I want to get the capture upgrade and I want to get the flashbang upgrade. So capture upgrade, I want to get the oil derricks in the bottom left corner, and flashbangs are super helpful against phase infantry, especially if you can garrison some buildings. So if you can get a bunch of rangers all garrisoned in the same building and then they can all flashbang, then his infantry is actually not that bad. It's a good alternative to Pathfinders, and Pathfinders I can't use in this challenge either. So right now we're just waiting on these minigunners to get picked off, so then it's safe for my dozer to move in and start building up my next line of base defenses. So the base defenses at the bridge, it's pretty good. We could do a little bit better though. So with my dozer, I'm going for like a formation where I have like 1 or 2 base defenses that are like 2-for-1 deals, where it will cover the north but also cover the bridge too. Just like this Patriot that's going to get built right now. Now with my other dozer, I am going to send him in to assist my first dozer in building up the base defenses, just in case Fai does any like early attacks on that northern side. And right now we're using our fire base to destroy our barracks, so then we can generate the 2 rangers we need to capture those oil derricks. So there is a risk to doing so many base defenses, and that's going to be the nuclear missile. So Fai does have a nuclear missile, but it doesn't have a timer in the top right corner. So you kind of have to guesstimate when he fires that nuclear missile. And for me, it seems he fires it around 7 minutes 30 to the 8-minute mark. That's, you know, usually when he'll do it. Now, for that means that I need to get the oil derricks, I need to generate the cash from those, plus the Chinooks too, and then hope that I've got enough cash to bait out the nuke. But I also got to keep in mind of the minigunner paradrop, which also does its thing from cash value. So I got to basically set up my bait after the minigunner drop has happened. So there's a lot to really think about when doing this challenge. So right now we got a fire base and then 2 Patriots for the north, and then 3 Patriots and a fire base for the bridge. Now at the oil derricks, we're setting up 1 Patriot. Didn't want to stray too far out with that dozer because otherwise I might get attacked as I'm constructing the defense. Now back at main base, I do need to get a war factory up. And I was like, if we do it, it does mean that it could be a risk of the minigunner paradrop coming in. And I decided to risk it. Now, with the minigunner paradrop, I was hoping that the minigunners would drop in between the war factory and the Patriots. If it doesn't work though, the minigunners could fly in and drop on the other side of the war factory, and then it could destroy the war factory potentially. So that's the risk. Now, back at the oil derricks, I ended up using the Rangers to flashbang those infantry there. So what I didn't want happened, and the minigunner paradrop flew in to destroy my war factory. I was able to get the strategy center structure up, so then I can build that. Now, good news here is that I'm going to get 5 Rangers off of this war factory, so I can use those Rangers to pick off the minigunners that are firing on my supply center, so that's okay. And I was hoping that if any of the Rangers survive this minigunner paradrop, I can use them to increase my defense either at the bridge or at the north. So I went with defense at the bridge, so they're just going to garrison the firebase. Now, I do need the extra power as well, because eventually we are going to get to particle cannons too. Particle cannons are going to be our best weapon against Fai. I don't think it's possible to beat Fai without the particle cannons in this sort of challenge setting. So Fai attacked me on the north, and he did destroy my firebase, but luckily for me, his attack wave wasn't too big, so we're able to fend off that attack. And losing only a firebase is still very good news. It could have been a whole lot worse. So I ended up noticing the time in the top right corner, and this is where I go in for my bait. Now, because the minigunner paradrop has already happened, I know I can set up the bait without the risk of minigunners flying in from those planes. So those Patriots will be the bait for the nuke, and I just gotta hope that the value of all of those Patriots exceeds the value of everything else that I've got on the field. So, like I mentioned before, it happens around 7 minutes 30 to the 8 minute mark. This time, the nuke hit 7:45, so that's a good middle ground. And because it's completely whiffed, I can cancel all of those Patriots and then get my money back to build up my first particle cannon. Now, with the particle cannon, I positioned it in a way so then my base defenses would be within range, just in case there's a minigunner paradrop coming in from that side. So again, it's the same thing as the war factory. I'm hoping that the minigunners go in between and not on the other side. The good news with the particle cannon though is it's going to have more health compared to a war factory, so I could use my dozers to run them over, or I could also use my rangers if I've got any nearby to pick off the minigunners should that happen. Now, I did have a dozer build a second particle cannon. Because it's Alexander, the particle cannons are half price, so just like that, we're going to have 2 very good weapons against Fai. And Fai, well, we could do a double particle cannon on the nuke, or a double particle cannon on the command center. There's a lot of good things that we could do with 2 particle cannons. And it's a 4-minute timer too, so it means that we're going to be able to consistently use that against him. And with the particle cannons, it's just like the nuclear missile. You won't be able to see the timer in the top right corner. You can still check the particle cannon structures to see how close they are to firing. You can also check the sidebar too. But with the sidebar, if you got one particle cannon that's ready to go, you won't be able to know when the others are going to be ready. So that's why I say you should also check the particle cannon structures manually like that. Now, I did get rank 3, and I went for the triple Ranger paradrop. See, that is going to be a lot more useful to me compared to A-10's Inspector gunship here, because of the number of phase infantry that could shoot down the planes. I think Rangers garrisoning buildings or sending them into my main base, that's going to be a lot more useful. Now, we are getting attacked by Fai's assault troop crawler and other infantry, and here comes the minigunner paradrop, so I knew that I was going to have a big loss here unless I bring in the Rangers too. So that's 20 Rangers that can all flashbang, and it's just minigunners versus infantry at this point. So we did lose most of our defense, and the last assault troop crawler, it can still fire even if it has been disabled, so I've got to remember that for next time. And there we go. So we look at the numbers, and we still have a good chunk of Rangers left, but I don't have a firebase, and I don't have as many Patriots now. So I did lose one of my oil derricks in the bottom left corner. So that's the other thing with the oil derricks, is that sometimes Fai will capture them, other times he might just destroy them. So that's kind of good news for me, because I can capture those oil derricks again later on to start generating more cash. At this point though, with the number of particle cannons we got, the money isn't too important right now. We've still got $8,400, so we could also use that for baiting out the next nuclear missile if we need to, but with the particle cannons being so close to firing, it means that I could fire my particle cannons, maybe go for his nuke, or I could go for his power plants, which will turn his power off for a good chunk of time, because that's his Achilles heel here. He's got all of his power plants all lined up, so if you just take out, even if you take out one power plant, it shuts him down. But taking out, you know, like 7 or 8 power plants with one particle cannon, that's really going to delay his nuclear missile. So right now we're just holding our ground, waiting on those particle cannons to be ready. I'm pulling my rangers away because I don't want them to be the target of his minigunners. I want the minigunners to go for my Patriots instead, and then my rangers at the back can flashbang any infantry that he sends my way. Now I did hit rank 4, I don't have a real purpose for that point just yet, so I'm going to hold off on using it, and I'm also going to go for another supply drop zone so then we can build up our cash. Now I'm not going to have enough cash to bait out the next nuclear missile, but the particle cannons are going to fire before his nuclear missile fires on me, so that's fine. Now if you are going up against General Fai and you have to deal with a second nuclear missile strike, then that second nuke will fire somewhere between the 14 to 15 minute mark. So, just in case you wanted to know, or you were playing against Fai yourself. Now, one thing I wish I should have done is I wish I had built a barracks nearby so then I could get these rangers to heal up, because a lot of them are looking a little bit worse for wear, and I mean, they would have been able to last much longer had I gotten them all back up to full health. So the defense is holding up pretty well, and we have one particle cannon that's ready to go. So the other thing that I wish I'd done is I wish I'd just fired this particle cannon on his reactors to turn off the power and delay his nuclear missile from firing. But instead what I chose was to hold off on firing and then wait for another particle cannon to be ready. See, I felt like I had enough time to wait on the second particle cannon and then fire both of them on the nuclear missile to destroy it. So that's what I went for. So it's only a matter of time now for that second particle cannon to be ready. Oh yeah, now it's ready. So I ended up going for the magnifying glass so then I can reveal the map. I can see where all his doses are and see how I'm taking my time. And that nuclear missile, I mean, that's standing up right now, so that could fire any second. And like I said, it fires between 14 to 15 minutes. So I sort of had to act fast, but I wasn't really... I wasn't really going fast. I was sort of going a bit more casual. So because I was going casual, it meant that the nuclear missile actually did fire on me. And the nuclear missile, surprisingly enough, it didn't do as much damage as I thought it would do. So not too bad. It could have been a whole lot worse. So you went for my particle cannons mainly. And normally when it comes to super weapons, they'll go off cash value, and it factors out command centers and super weapons normally, so you won't have to worry too much about that. There are cases like Dr. Thrax where he will actively use his Scud Storm on your first command center, but that's just an exception to the rule. So now I use my particle cannon on the reactors to turn off the power after I've just been hit by a nuclear missile. So you can understand why I'm saying now that my attack was totally out of order here. So I guess this is me showing you what not to do in this specific moment of the battle against General Fai. Good thing is it was not a fatal mistake. I can recover from this. And I did get the rank 5 as well, so I ended up going with Fuel Air Bomb, and I was thinking AAA-10. I was also tempted to go with Spectre, but Spectre would have been shot down pretty easily by Fai's infantry, so I went for AAA-10 instead for the extra plane and the damage. Now, I did get hit by his artillery, but just a little bit of damage, nothing major there. And I used my Ranger Paradrop as well on my bottom left corner, so then I can garrison more buildings, and then I can capture the oil derrick that's to the left of those buildings too, just to build up the cash even further. So having 10 rangers inside those garrison buildings, it's very helpful against those assault troop crawlers as well as the minigunners. Tank hunters not so much. You have to do the evac trick of evacing and then moving away and then going back into the building to draw those tank hunters a little bit closer to you. But in any case, it's very solid. And what we're going to do later on is I actually want to get a dozer to keep those buildings repaired, and then that way my defense will last a whole lot longer. Now, I also did get the Moab upgrade from the strategy center, so then I can do even more damage to phase buildings. And the Moab, it's a faster plane compared to the fuel air bomb, so it does mean that the odds of the plane actually reaching its target is a lot higher compared to that fuel air bomb. So with my general powers, I chose to use my Moab on the War Factory as well as some of his other units. That way his defenses will be lowered even further, and then my A-10 strike can fly in to destroy the internet center, getting rid of those hackers and preventing him from making as much cash. Now, I'm not sure if that's really going to matter because a lot of these generals usually have like infinite cash, but at the very least it means that there's more units and more buildings that Fai has to build before he can really make any big moves on my base or my second base in that bottom left corner. So really just means I have more time to keep building up particle cannons and base defenses to keep me going. Now with my dozer, with the garrison buildings, I chose to build up a fire base as well. That way I've got some coverage against the tank hunters and I won't need to do the evac trick as much. Now we've got the garrison buildings for the other bridge as well, but I've also got a Patriot too, so we're pretty solid defense all the way around. So I wasn't sure about evacing here because I didn't want to risk losing my dozer to the tank hunters, but luckily they went for my fire base instead, so we could take out those guys. Now with the fire base, we've got even more coverage against those tank hunters, and here comes the minigunner paradrop, and you can see how easy it is from all my ranges to take out those minigunners with the flashbangs. Now with General Fai's minigunner paradrop, there is a trick to it. So if you hear General Fai say, like a swarm of locusts, that's an audio cue that will tell you that he's about to send that minigunner paradrop plane your way, and it's going to go off cash value. So if you just keep an eye on your most valuable area and you've got the defense for it, then you should be able to counter those minigunner paradrops more easily. Now with our particle cannons, I got 3 ready to go, so this is where I decided to sort of really go for the jugular here and go for his command center. Now I've got one aiming on the command center at the entrance where the dozers pop out, and I'm just looking around for more dozers. It seems he only has one left, so we're going to aim our second particle cannon on the dozer that's building that Gatling cannon, and we're going to aim it at the supply center, and then we'll go for reactors one more time, and then the third particle cannon will go for the command center one more time. And I noticed that a dozer popped out and I wasn't sure if he was going to escape, so I went back and ended up taking out the propaganda center. Had I known that that dozer had already been destroyed, then I'd go for his barracks instead, but really doesn't matter by this point. With 2 barracks, we've got enough ranges and enough defense to counter that, and we can just wait on our next batch of general powers and particle cannons to be ready to finish the job. So I didn't do this, but one thing that I could have done instead of relying on general powers and particle cannons in this moment was to build up some Chinooks and fill up those Chinooks with rangers, and then send those Chinooks to the weakest part of Fai's base and then let them finish the job. But yeah, I didn't think of it in that moment, but what I did instead was I destroyed some civilian buildings so then I could build another command center, and building another command center will change the flight path of your general power planes. So I was thinking maybe we could send in the Moab, which would come from the bottom left corner of the map, and he's got less defense over there, and maybe we could do the damage that way. But again, we didn't think of the Chinook idea, so this is what we're going with. And that is how we did General Alexander versus General Fai without building any offensive units. So if you enjoyed this one, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I do have a playlist if you want to check out any of my other content. I'm Cracklo. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Accept this defeat, General. My men will cover my escape, and we will fight another day.